What is going on, guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is the Steam Podcast. We are coming to you guys live on July 31st, 2024 for episode 102, where today we actually have the return of a very, very special guest. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to have the return of the chillest dude in pro wrestling, Max Burnside.
Saw, dude. How's it going?
Oh man, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm better now. Heck yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing really, really good, man. It is an absolute pleasure to actually be interviewing you once again and actually just have you sit down with us as we go through all of these questions. Like, thank you so very much.
No, thanks for having me, dude.
All right. Well, maybe if we could actually start with everybody who maybe doesn't know you, maybe you can introduce your name, where you're from, and just what you've been up to since 2024 started.
Well, if you don't know who I am the chillest dude in pro wrestling. I am the highest flyer in the Pacific Northwest. Your mom's favorite smoking buddy. Uh, and I just like to get in the ring and I like to wrestle dudes, and then afterwards just chill. Um, what have I been up to lately? Just trying to stay busy. It's kind of been a rough year for the local scene, just because we lost a couple of brothers, with Logan and Big Cat Scott Henson. So it's 20. The rest of 2024 has kind of just been one of those mental building stages where just trying to uh, not be down and depressed, and we know what happens when you start to get down and depressed. And so 2024 has just been kind of like a rebuild stage, I guess, mentally and physically for me. So um, with a lot of new stuff coming up in the next few months, I wanted to make sure that I was fully prepared and also ready to go mentally, physically, and emotionally. So that's what Max Burnside's been up to.
That is so interesting. So it's like, what is like the companies in which you've actually worked for as 2024 actually began? Like, where have you actually been throughout this entire calendar year?
So I've been mainly focusing on DOA. I absolutely will probably rep this promotion forever. Drexel is a godsend to this scene, and DOA is home promotion for me. But next close to home is Peak Sports Entertainment, up in Everett. I love what they're doing up there. I love that they're very much student based, and a lot of the students that are training at the dojo are getting a lot of spotlight at Peak, and in turn, they're actually getting a lot of spotlight at DOA. And so it's creating more talent for the scene. And so those two companies right now, I'm trying to get back on a couple of companies that I've wrestled for before, but with storylines and with the abundance of talent in the area, it's just one of those things to where I kind of have to just wait my turn to get back on the roster. So hoping to get back onto some shows here soon. But DOA and Peak have been my mainstays right now.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like is has there ever been like a company like I know you had like just talked about DOA and whatnot. Do you feel like that's like the main company that you're focusing on right now, or is there any other companies where you're like, I feel like there's a little bit more of a leverage there in a sense with you know what I mean?
I do. There's not really necessarily one company in particular or companies. It's just like I said, with the kind of mental rebuild that I've been doing within the last, you know, 6 months and going to do for the next till 2025, is just mainly focusing on how I can not only better myself but better the companies that I want to wrestle for. And so the only way to do that is to make myself valuable. Not really necessarily a company in particular. There's always a few that you want to work for, but you have to work for it. And so unfortunately, that's what I got to do right now. And so not necessarily a company in particular. It's just kind of the companies that I know are focused on the local scene and focused on how we can uh, not only make the scene thrive, but keep it going. And so, yeah, no particular company.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any match in which you've actually performed so far here in 2024 that you're like mostly is memorable?
Honestly, probably my match with Mickey Montoya at DOA a few months back. Um, Mickey is somebody that when he started training, he was one of those guys that and I'll be honest, we didn't know if he was going to be one of those guys that could cut it and be able to do professional wrestling. And oh boy, did he not only prove us wrong, but he's shining. And so I think my match with Mickey stands out right now because the story that I'm telling is amazing, and that match with Mickey is probably the one that stands out for me.
Yeah. So like can you kind of like walk us through that match and like what kind of like led up to it? Like what made you drive so much towards that storyline?
Uh, well, if you've been paying attention to DOA, Mr. Ooh La La and his goons have been messing with me, and they've been doing it for the last 2 years. He's sent everybody that he's accompanied to the ring. He's sent to mess with me somehow. And the match that I had with Mickey was just so good. And the fact that he messed it up by sending Jonas in to cut my hair was it took away from such a good match that I had from Mickey. Like him and I had such a good match, and I'm a little upset that it got interrupted, but I think mainly because we were having such a good match. That's what drives me to that one more than anything, I think.
So, like, is there any opponent that you've actually faced where you felt like you guys had the most chemistry? Like, anytime that you guys get into the ring, it almost seems like you guys don't have to really coordinate with each other. You guys just know exactly how each other flows, and the flow is just so perfect. Have you ever felt that throughout your career?
Yeah. I mean, it's a no-brainer that Jaden and I have trained since I started. And because he's been in the business longer than I am, and I could literally jump in the ring with him right now and not say a single word to him, and I could know what he's doing, and I could know what he wants to hit next, and I could know. Uh, it's just one of those things. It's just it's really hard to find, I guess. So there has been a couple of people where, like, if I had that time, like I did with Jaden in the ring, it would definitely develop to that. Um, I'm trying to think of somebody who I've wrestled recently. Actually, Mickey, I can't. I got to go back to Mickey because even when, you know, yeah, I'm gonna have to say Mickey. Yeah, Mickey's probably the close second that if you could, I could hop in the ring with right now, and we can probably not say a word to each other and have a fantastic match. So
Yeah. So it's like, what do you think that he brings to professional wrestling that you really admire and which you can actually attach to? Like, what is that specific little moment in which you were like, we can actually coordinate really, really well?
I think it's just how genuine he is as a person. He's one of the most genuine guys. Like I hate to break kayfabe a little bit, but he's literally like if you've ever talked to Mickey, he's a genuine guy, and so he doesn't hide anything. He doesn't have any reason to be not who he is, and I think that's one reason why he's shining right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So I know one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was kind of like going throughout those emotions or maybe experiencing how each other is actually going to coordinate with pro wrestling and then actually talking backstage after you guys have a match. How was that for you, even if you face, Mickey Mantoya or whatnot, and then go and talk to him backstage afterwards? How was that for you to be able to coordinate with those wrestlers?
Well, I mean, it depends on the situation. And each person is different. Some people don't like to talk at all. Some people like to talk. When it comes to that, it's just I think it's a case by case basis. So it just depends on who it is that I'm working or who's working. Um, yeah, it's a case by case basis, I think.
Okay, interesting. Well, I know one thing that I wanted to bring up to you was I was sitting there doing like a little bit of research, and it said that at DOA Lucky 13 that was your actual first experience performing for DOA Pro Wrestling. Was at their 13th anniversary show. So can you
Yep.
kind of like walk us through that event and how it made you feel to actually make your debut for that event?
Well, that was actually the first DOA event post COVID. So this was a big deal for the scene and for everybody involved. Quarantine sucked. COVID was a rough time, rough 4 years. So DOA was a big deal coming back on their 13th anniversary, doing it at the Jackson Armory, big venue, and it packed the whole house. Um, which was awesome because obviously the last 4 years we had done without a crowd shows. We had done shows in front of 10 people spread out with masks on. Uh, and when I got asked to be on uh, DOA, of course it was heck yeah. Like uh, the company that I want to wrestle for in the area is asking me to be on. And so all I could think of is, you know, make this moment memorable, and also make it memorable for everybody involved, so that way they want you to come back. And
Mhm.
that, like I said, that event packed the house, and there was there was not an empty seat, and there was, I think, barely any standing room. And I think because it was the first show after COVID, it was not only my debut, but it was the first show after COVID. Why, it was super special and important. So
Yeah. I mean, like, did it also feel like a little bit special to know that, like, you were one of the first people in which people saw where they can actually go to a live event? Like, did that kind of feel kind of surreal in a sense?
oh yeah, and like I said, after wrestling in front of no crowd, just a camera, and in front of 10 people spread out with masks on, it, we vibe off the crowd. Like uh, the louder the crowd, the crazier the crowd, the crazier we are going to be in the ring. I will literally die in the ring if the crowd is crazy. Like I will, it's a crazy feeling and it's a crazy experience. But like, yeah, it's just I can't. One of those things that you just kind of you can't explain it unless you kind of experience it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was another thing that I wanted to bring up with you, and it was DOA Art of War. And I was watching this little clip that you had actually posted, and it was of you like busting into the bathroom after Mr. Ooh La La, and Mickey was actually standing like in the doorway, and he was like, "No, you can't enter." Like, no, he's not in there. Can you kind of like explain to everybody that whole storyline and how that came to be?
The ladies' room, by the way, he was standing outside the ladies' room while Mr. Ooh La La was hiding from me because I beat Jonas to give Mr. Ooh La La a makeover because he sent Jonas to cut my hair while I was wrestling Mickey. Cut my hair in front of 300 plus people, embarrassed the heck out of me. And so I got to challenge Jonas to a makeover match to where if I win, then I get to make over Ooh La La in any outfit that I wanted. And if I lose, they were going to cut the rest of my hair. And so since I beat Jonas, Ooh La La started running.
Mhm.
And I had to go find him because I needed to dress him up in the outfit that I picked out. And so, of course, I couldn't find him. And lo and behold, Mickey is standing outside the ladies' room. Really weird. So, of course, I know Mr. Ooh La La is in there. I get past Mickey and I open the door, and Mr. Ooh La La is hiding in the stall, scared. I don't know why he's scared. He agreed to the match. He knew the stipulations. I mean, you know you might win or lose.
Yeah.
So now Mr.
Yes.
Ooh La La is the Reverend Rio Riviera because when he was dressed in my outfit, he got hit in the head with a guitar by Jonas. Now he's under some like amnesia spell, and he keeps following me around and trying to give me this tincture stuff. And I had some, and it made me feel all weird. And I saw some things, and yeah, it's freaking me
Okay.
out. Have you
I'm
guys checked in on Mr. Ulala lately? Have you guys checked in on him? Have you seen him lately? Is he still acting weird? I don't know. I haven't seen him.
I don't know. Like that was like a little bit confusing there for a little second. But like I want to ask, like, is it ever because like I know that like PAL Pro Wrestling will like record their footage and then they'll upload it like months or like weeks ahead. Is it ever kind of difficult, have you seen, for fans to kind of follow that, where it's like it's hosted and then it's uploaded like a few weeks later and then it's like you're almost like a couple months behind? Have you ever like noticed that a little bit?
Mm, I guess I'm not quite sure because I'm not sure how POW does the production side of things.
Yeah.
So and I think Brian Zane does all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I know that it's different with some of the storylines too that they have. But yeah, I'm not quite sure actually on that one.
Yeah, yeah, and then that is no disrespect to any of their,
Oh, no, yeah,
how
yeah.
the yeah, no disrespect at all. So it's like, what happened, like, after that whole scene actually like, transpired where you actually busted into the bathroom? Like, what actually happened after that?
I dressed Mr. Lala up in a 70s disco outfit made of polyester and like bottom grade cotton because he's very bougie and likes to wear silk and satin and all those nice fabrics that make me itchy and sweaty.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, I know one thing that, I had asked, like I had asked my mom, like, what exactly question would you have? And the only question that she had was, are you going to be there on Sunday in Independence?
Unfortunately, I am not going to be there on Sunday in
Oh,
Independence. I know, sad
dang.
day.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, I know I was going throughout your Facebook and just kind of just like going throughout posts and whatnot that you had been tagged in, and you had said that there was one time in which you were training with Jaden and you had done a 30-minute, 45-minute, and then 60-minute training match all in the same exact day. How did that exactly transpire?
That was actually over a few weeks. So like one week we would do a 30-minute match, and then the next week we would do a 45-minute match. And then we were working our way towards a 60-minute match because eventually we wanted to do an Ironman. And we didn't get to a 60-minute because I had some personal stuff go on and I actually had to move. And so that's actually when I moved up to Washington. And so I didn't get to train as often with Jaden, so we never actually got to the 60-minute match. But that was just something that him and I just was just a goal. We were like, hey, is this something that we could do? Like 30 minutes, okay, 45. All right. Can we do a 60-minute match? Like not only is that rough on us, but that's rough on the crowd. Like you have to make sure that like you're entertaining for 60 minutes. Like it's got like you can have ebbs and flows, but like it's got to be entertaining. And so I regret moving as soon as I did before we got to the 60-minute match. And I don't need to be honest, I don't know if I could go 60 minutes today. I probably could if I trained myself, but yeah, that was just one of those goals that we had in training that was just like, hey, is this something we can do? So that way if you turn it into something or whatever, it's just another trick up the sleeve or there's something that we can do. So
yeah, so it's like, how was it for you to actually be able to coordinate with somebody like Jaden and actually have that friendship that goes beyond professional wrestling and knowing that they have your back? Like, how was that as a professional wrestler to have those people behind you?
they come few and far between, and it's not easy. Let's just put it that way. Like life's not easy. Professional wrestling's not easy. And so when you have people like that have helped you out and have always thought of you and the little things that like not everybody is going to do, you always appreciate it and you always remember it and you never forget it. So it's tough because it's few and far between. So it's really hard to come by. And another guy that's like that for me too is Mr. Derek Shaw. If you didn't know, Derek Shaw is another one that from day one when we were all training together, it was just we were all friends and hanging out and talking and stuff. So guys like that are hard to come by, and and guys like Spencer and Zay who are amazing young lads, and again, think about you and have your back and all that good stuff. It's hard to come by, so feels good.
Yeah. So like what are, because like we'll definitely have to get into that a little bit later. But like what are all of the personas and or factions or just personas in general that you've actually carried throughout your entire career? Can you kind of like walk us through? Go ahead.
Hold on, let me change my earbud before I answer the question.
Oh no, it's good.
All right, see if that goes better. All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Uh-oh, let's see here.
Yeah, just 1 second, you guys. It's all good.
Oh no, it's not. Okay, well, that's okay. I can do it without it.
All right.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So personas and factions that I have done in professional wrestling. Well, I guess we'll start from the beginning. It was just kind of like me, I guess. Just I had a pair of biker shorts that were hand-me-downs, and I had a pair of boots that were hand-me-downs, and I was just kind of me and just kind of floating through. And then I had I was very angry for a while and was quoting a lot of anarchistic influences, people that don't see the world as maybe some other people do. And so I was very anarchistic and I was very against the grain, kind of rough. Nobody liked to hang out with me. It wasn't a good time then. And then, of course, I was a delivery boy with Jaden, and I I was also a delivery boy by myself at 321 um, in Seattle. And then I kind of went back to being angry during COVID because everything was shut down. And then started smoking weed again and just said, you know what, man, it's just time to just be chill and just relax. And so I just literally became the chillest dude in pro wrestling. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. And along the way, I've also joined High Five with Draven Vargas and Pat Large. I love those boys. Shared a lot of safety meetings with those lads. Uh, and I've been in a few factions at 321, but it was very short lived. It didn't last very long. So
That is so interesting. Well, I know we were just sitting there talking about Jaden, and you had just talked about like having a tag team him like with him when it comes to the delivery boys. And I had actually seen this clip where it was like you and him at SOS Pro Wrestling, and you guys were doing this move where it was a Inseguri assist code breaker plus a surfs up senton. So like how did you guys actually coordinate that? Where like you guys were like, that would be amazing if we could actually implement this in a match.
well, again, it's one of those things to where like you know somebody for so long. He's the one that came up with the move, and he's said, "Hey, this this might work." And with your move and with my move, we can put these together. And it was just one of those things to where like again, you know each other and you know each other's move set very well, and you can just accommodate accordingly. And it was one of those moves.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, how is it kind of for you to actually kind of have to gauge what somebody wants to do as a professional wrestler, even though maybe you actually get like a new opponent where it's like, hey, we actually want to have you on this show. You're going to be facing this person. Do you kind of go and do like that research to kind of figure out exactly what they want to do in the ring?
Oh, if I haven't already researched them, that's the first thing that I do.
Hmm.
I'm very into the scene. I'm literally following everybody. I'm not just following my scene, but I'm also following scenes that are doing really well outside of the Northwest. So research is the first thing that I do. Always watch video, look at gimmicks, all that stuff. It's what everybody should be doing, hopefully. So that way you're not showing up and going, "Oh, what can we do? What do you want to do?" Because at the end of the day, you wanna perform at your best, and just like any other good profession, a doctor, um, you know, somebody that has to go to school, right, to have to practice and stuff like that, you need to be good at it. And so research is definitely the biggest part of that. So if I haven't researched it, that's the first thing I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So like here's a question for you. So like is there any other moment in your career where you were actually in front of a crowd doing what you do and you felt like they had the most connection to you?
Probably when I got my hair cut. Yeah, that place erupted. I had never heard it as loud as it was when I've been in the ring. As far as like booing, that place was loud.
Mhm.
So, and afterwards, I had been told that there was not just one, but every single long-haired guy in the Eagles Hall was about to storm the ring because they were so upset that I was getting my hair cut. So yeah, probably getting my hair cut in the middle of the ring was probably the most connected I've felt with people in the ring, as you know, as weird as that sounds a little bit, but
Yeah. Like so like that would be like as far as like a storyline, but like what crowd have you felt where you were trying to get something over in which you felt like you actually connected with?
Probably SOS. Um, Anytime that I've wrestled there, it's always been very, very receptive. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say SOS's crowd. DOA's crowd is always top tier. That's gonna be 100% top tier. But like every time that I've wrestled at SOS, it's been one of those things to where like I've like been told, hey, like like people are cheering for you here. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like, of course, like that's awesome. But you don't. Those are the things that I don't really necessarily pay attention to until like afterwards, just because I get in such tunnel vision of what I'm doing. So I don't notice that kind of stuff until, of course, I'm in the ring or like afterwards. People are like, "Hey, like that was, that was really good." So
Yeah. Yeah, I know I've talked to multiple wrestlers about them kind of having to help the other professional wrestler put themselves over, or if they're helping you put yourself over. And so it's like how was it for you to actually give the crowd maybe what they want? Because both of you guys kind of have to have the ear for what exactly is supposed to happen. What is going to drive the crowd to like that other person? How was that for you whenever you're going into a match to actually listen to the crowd and know what they want?
it's different every time, and it's different with every crowd. Um, that's the joy of independent wrestling is you get to try and try and try and try and try and try and try, and so it's not been an easy process. So it's one of those things you have to experiment with and get a feel for and understand what reacts and what doesn't react and um, what necessarily that you may want to get over and then you do something else that's not planned whatever and it all of a sudden it's the most over thing that you're doing because the crowd loves it and you never expected it. So
Mhm.
um you just have to kind of experiment with the crowd a little bit with what you're doing and and, and what you're trying to get over. So
Yeah. So like do you feel like there's kind of like maybe this little aspect in which like when you're not planning to get something over, that's exactly what's going to get over as compared to expecting something and then maybe being disappointed? Or is it kind of like half and half?
it's kind of like half and half because like
Yeah.
again you never know what's going to get over and then like if you know what you're doing it's going to get over. That's just the way it is. If you don't, then it's if it's not getting over, then you kind of aren't don't know what you're doing, or something's not connecting, or whatever the case may be. Again, it's case by case, so it's a trial and error, and not everybody is the same. And there's things called like the 9/10 rule, to where like 9 times out of 10 that wouldn't work, but that one time it will work. The good old Stone Cold Steve Austin. Um, Theory, 9 times out of 10, nobody could go in there and do bad guy stuff and get over, but Stone Cold can go in there and do bad guy stuff and get over. So there's stuff like that where it's kind of really tricky because you don't know what necessarily is going to get over. It's some people love to cheer bad guys and boo good guys. Like it's really weird. So you have to learn how to navigate through that without burying yourself a little bit. So
Yeah. Okay, so that'll go into like two different questions just based off of what you just said because obviously we know that there are baby faces and there's heels, but then there's also these anti-heroes. So how is it for you to go throughout these companies and like try and build yourself as a baby face, but if you get so over with the crowd and you're a heel, you kind of almost become this anti-hero.
yeah, and again, it's the 9/10 rule. It's the even if that one person who is doing that is getting over, not everybody's going to be able to do that. So yeah, it's a weird thing. Wrestling psychology. It's weird. It's a
Yeah.
tangled web that we weave, unfortunately. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so like I know yesterday or earlier today, I'd actually sent you a photo of you in a ladder match. Can you kind of like walk us through that match and exactly what that photo represented?
Yeah, that was at BCW. I think that was, can't remember what year that was. It was I think maybe 15 matches into my career, and I get told I'm getting put in a basically a money in the bank type ladder match where there's a contract for the championship in the briefcase, and the winner has to, retrieves it. Um, and that pick was I can't remember who it was taken by. I think it was taken by Kathy. Rest in peace. Yeah, Kathy Kemp. I think Kathy Kemp took that, I think. But that was a match that was very interesting because, again, being first 20 matches into my career, or even less, ladder match, not knowing what the heck I was doing. Jaden had been in a few before, so being a little nervous, he was like, "Hey, we'll be okay. Like, we'll do this stuff, and you're just stick with me, and we'll do some stuff." And that pick was cool because that was uh, right before I got slammed through a ladder that was laying flat next to it, and so that was the closest that I had gotten to the briefcase.
Yeah. So
Unfortunately, I
like,
did not win.
so like, how does it actually feel to be like up against like a ladder and like send yourself into it? How does that feel as a pro wrestler?
It hurts. It hurts. I got a scar on the side of my head because I got hit with a ladder.
Really? How did that happen?
That was at 5cc when I won the North Star Nebula.
Hmm.
I was wrestling. Oh, who was all in that match? That was me, Chris Brady, Jaden, Caden Cassidy, Jordan Oasis, and I got hit in the back with the ladder. Chris Brady, boom, hits it on my back, but unfortunately, because the ring was a little lopsided, part of the ladder hit the rope, and it kind of like whiplashed, and it hit my head, and it was obviously a total accident. And Yeah, I have a scar on the side of my head because ladders hurt. I'm pretty sure I still have a scratch on my back from that ladder match as well. That was just from getting beat up from a ladder. Stuff hurts. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So it was a couple months ago. I had actually taken my brother Nathan to his first ever PAL Pro Wrestling show, and there were tacks that were involved, and like they got slammed into the tacks, and then they lifted it up, and there's tacks in their back, and that's when he was like, "Oh my gosh, like what?" You know? And so it's like, how is it going throughout like maybe those extreme moments, but knowing that it's going to actually make an impact to the person who is actually watching the overall show?
I don't know, man. In those moments, I kind of just have to go and do it because if I start thinking about it, I'm not. I'm just gonna start overthinking it, and I just got to do it. I can't think about the impact. I can't think about whatever because if I start thinking about the consequences or whatever, because high risk, high reward, right? So you start thinking about everything in between. So if you
Yeah.
start thinking about it, you're gonna get in your head. Yeah, moments like that, I just kind of have to go in, no thought,
Yeah, yeah,
no
yeah,
full
yeah. It's
send.
almost like you like being up on the balcony and knowing that what must go up must come down.
I didn't think about it. I just leapt off that balcony. I If I die, I die. I didn't even think about it at the time. In fact, even leading up to it, didn't even think about it. I was, yep, it's gonna
Just
happen.
do it.
I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, there's another funny video on Facebook on your page where you're actually doing this like roommate, like the worst roommate that you can have. and you're like sitting on the couch, sitting there playing your Switch, and then they come out of the room with a pan. They just like place it in. What made you actually want to come up with that whole video?
Oh, well, I mean, who hasn't experienced doing the dishes and working hard and then having somebody just leave a dish in the sink? Come on. And I said something too. I saw that nasty pan that was coming out of his room, and I said, "Hey, dude, the dishwasher's empty. Just rinse it off and throw it in there." And all of a sudden, I hear the clunk, 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 clunk. Who hasn't experienced that? And dude, jeez, man, bad roommates. They suck.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, I actually wanted to talk to you about championships. And I had seen recently on Peak Sports PNW and Dragonplex Dojo Champion. Yeah. So like can you kind of like walk us through that whole event and not only being the last champion for 5cc but also being able to be if I'm correct, the first champion for the dojo. How does that feel?
Well, it's always a nice feeling, to be a first champion. I'm not Dragonplex Dojo trained. I was trained by Cameron Starr long ago. But during COVID, it was a rough time because 321 and their training facility had shut down, and so there was no place in the area to train. And Chris Ross and Dave Turner, I knew were running a school out of Dave's house with Dave's ring, and so I hit them up and said, "Are you guys opening a school? Do you guys still have a school? What's going on?" And the next thing I know, they open up Dragonplex, and it was the only place in the area, especially during COVID, where we can get in a ring and start wrestling. And so I had spent a lot of time at the Dragonplex Dojo with Jaden and Rebel Cal and Mickey Mantoya and a bunch of other people, and some people that still are, obviously wrestling today. Um, and so the Dragonplex Dojo holds a special place in my heart. So to be the dojo's first champion, it's always a great honor. So, and as far as being 5cc's last champion, there's especially now, it's I could never ever be more appreciative for Logan than I am now. So to be 5cc's last champion is probably the thing that I admire the most. So
Yeah. Does it like ever feel like really cool to be able to like even just walk into your room or wherever you have the championship held up and then just look at it and just know those memories?
well, full disclosure, and if this person gets mad at me, they can get mad at me. But I actually don't have the 5cc championship. Um, it was one of Logan's wishes that that title actually went to a person that made that championship. That person that he wasn't the first champion, but he was probably the greatest champion, and that was Caden Cassidy. So it's sitting at Caden's house, and because that's what Logan wanted. Because I asked him what he wanted to do with the 5cc championship. I got to keep the North Star Nebula belt, which of course I was the only champ. So so he asked that I give it to Caden, and so I respected his wishes, and I gave it to Caden. So
That is amazing. Well, I wanted to ask you about because like I feel like there's this almost stigma about professional wrestling where it comes to like, oh, they're not really earning their championships. Like, why are they crying when they actually get a championship? But it's like when you're actually putting forth so much effort and you have to really build yourself in that company for them to believe you as a champion, that is what makes people so emotional. Can you kind of explain that as a professional wrestler?
yeah, I mean it's really easy. I feel sorry for people that don't have emotions and feelings. To see to see, like you said, hard work and passion paying off. People say, pro wrestling championships are props, and I'll give them that. They are props to storylines to help tell stories. But if you're gonna sit here and tell me that they also don't mean things to the people that win them, you are dead wrong.
Yeah.
To be crowned a champion, it means that that company trusts you enough to put something that they have put money in, not only in the belt, but in the people that they have put it on them before them. So for people to not necessarily look down, but to kind of be like, the stigma of like winning a championship, it's I feel sorry for people that don't have emotions and don't have goals and dreams that, to me it may sound petty to me, but I also like, I want to see people succeed. So I'm gonna feel awesome when I see that happen. And not just in wrestling, like let's look at the Olympic team right now. Everyone's, rooting for the gymnastics team that just won gold. So it's when you see hard work pay off and you see passion in people, that's I don't know. I feel like that's what makes what makes the world a great place to be in with how much negativity that we have running around right now. So we need more passion. We need more positive energy, and so it's. I think you said it best. It's just a thing where you're watching hard work and dedication just play out. So
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up to you was I know the first time that I had interviewed Jaden, I had asked him about how professional wrestling companies will kind of coordinate who they want to be at their top level or maybe their top superstars, where it's like, okay, so this person not only knows how to work in the ring, they can interact with the crowd. The crowd is actually responding to them. They can actually put butts in seats and actually sell tickets. Like those are going to be the front runners as far as championships are going. And I feel like that's maybe something that a lot of people don't understand about professional wrestling and the dedication that it takes for you guys to actually get there. Would you kind of agree with that statement?
oh yeah, absolutely. And again, it's also who you are as a person. Um, you can't be a crap human being and then expect people to want to book you, or if you're not adamant on like not just helping sell tickets but to also help, either teaching by, if there's somebody that is more experienced and is wrestling somebody that is not so experienced and is willing to be open-minded and helpful. There's things like that, and then of course there's crowd interaction. If you have a good crowd reaction for a long period of time, there's no denying the fact that you should be a champion. There's a lot of factors that go into that, and shit, there's probably even other factors that I don't even know. Just because, hey, I like this person, I like what they're doing. It also could be like, there's I liked what they did this day, and so I think that if we do this, it could do this. There's a whole bunch of
Factors.
possibilities with wrestling, and I think that's what's fun about it is it's so interactive in so many different ways.
Yeah. But like how does it feel whenever like you're like let's say like some random wrestling company down in California was like, "Hey, we saw you in this video. We want to book you for this event." How would you actually like feel going down to that like a brand new company, never worked for before, never seen you in front of an actual crowd? How would you like kind of gauge like whether or like okay, like, kind of like even just going to that event and actually performing. Like, how would that feel for you? Like,
I guess no different than anywhere up here that I've wrestled regularly. It's
mhm,
just knowing who I am as a wrestler and what I want to portray. And so when I come out of the curtain, whether it's here, California, Pittsburgh, New York, wherever I may go in wrestling, that I know what I want to portray and I know what I want people to remember when they're done watching my match. So I it probably plays into one of those things too, where it's trial and error. So if I go in there as me and it doesn't go over as well, it's one of those things to where, okay, this area doesn't necessarily vibe with this kind of style that I'm doing. So it's like go down there, be myself. If it works, awesome, sweet, you're doing great. If not, then we have to figure out how to change it so that way, no matter where I go, what I want to portray is going to be understandable, and it'll get over with, whatever kind of different crowd I'm in. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's one thing that I find really really interesting, and that is that like there has to be a difference between somebody who just wants to perform in their local area, and like obviously that's completely fine if that's what you want to do. But there obviously has to be a difference between somebody who is trying to project their career, where they want to actually expand themselves in all of these different quote unquote territories so far, and then
right.
actually make a name for themselves. So is there like a difference in which you can see between like pro wrestlers where you're like, okay, so this person is just trying to get themselves over here, but this person is also trying to build, you know?
Yeah, I think, and this is again, if this is just purely opinion, me, I don't like it when there are multiple gimmicks at different promotions. Like when you see my name on a marquee or on a poster, you know what you're gonna get every single time.
Mhm.
It's not gonna change. There's nothing different about it, and so it's, I don't know. It's sorry. Can you repeat the last part of your question?
So it's like how is it like kind of like coordinating with like those kinds of people where it's like they're wanting to get this over, but like they only
Oh,
want to stay in this area, but then there are people that actually want to expand.
right. So like, how do I tell, and how do I interact with those? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, for my main goal for me as a wrestler is I want to get my name to a point to where when I'm done wrestling and I start to do things behind the scenes, a lot more like full time, that I want people to be like, oh, Max is doing this. Okay, yeah, like awesome. Like send me your students, send me, whoever. And so for me, I've expanded outside, and I'm hoping to expand more. Obviously, that's my goal. But the end goal is so that way I can bring that spotlight back to the scene, because our scene here in the Northwest is one of the most rich in history, and it's on fire right now. And my goal is I want people to want to fly out here and wrestle for the companies that we wrestle for, and just as much as we want to fly out and go to wrestle for these top promotions in Vegas and in Tennessee and all these other uh, major cities. So I guess as long as people are passionate about wrestling and they love their scene, uh, that's fine by me. I mean, and if you're trying to build a name and get outside the scene, cool. That means that you're gonna, still you had your thumbprint on the scene, and so when you go out and people say where you came from the Northwest, and oh yeah, okay. And so again, we have such a rich history in wrestling that there is no reason that we shouldn't keep it going. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to wrestle in your scene, but just make it better and make it top tier. So
That is so awesome. So it's like, how does it feel as a professional wrestler and to kind of look back at all of the struggles and difficulties that it takes to become a professional wrestler and to have that sense of satisfaction that you have actually overcome all of those obstacles and you are now here as you are.
well, the work ain't done yet. The work ain't done yet. Work's never over. And like I said, these last few months have kind of been like a rebuild for me, mentally, physically, emotionally. Definitely been hitting gym like 10 times more than I have been before, doing different exercises than what I've been doing before, and it's been giving me some really great results. That's been noticed, and so that's something for me. It's a relieving feeling, but like the work's not done. There's still places I want to go. There's still people I want to wrestle, and there's still goals I want to accomplish. So even though I'm an independent professional wrestler, I'm there's things I still need to check off the box. So um, still got some work to do.
Yeah, that is so interesting. So, I was actually like sitting there and I was scrolling through Google and I was actually saying that AEW and WWE are wanting to plan a um event at the Sphere. Have you ever seen like the Sphere in Las Vegas? And like, what is your like mindset behind like having like an event like a professional wrestling event there? Do you think it's going to build more towards pro wrestling?
I don't know. Maybe it's all the acid that I've done, but I'm scared of that thing.
What is that?
Have you seen that thing? Have you not seen the memes where people are poking out their hotel rooms and it's SpongeBob staring at them? Man, that thing's kind of creepy. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool, to experience wrestling there, but like, man, I don't know. That thing freaks me out.
Oh man, that is so awesome. Well, I know earlier I was scrolling through Facebook and Oregon Pro Wrestling School had kind of put out like this little quote and it was a part of their whole post and it said when you're green you grow, when you're not you rot. Do you kind of feel that as like if you were to get into professional wrestling?
Oh, yeah. There is no half-assing it. You have to, man, it's one of those things that, yeah, you have to keep moving. You have to keep doing something to progress what it is that you want to do. Like yeah, it's 100% like do not stop moving, do not stop thinking, do not stop planning. Um yeah, then never let them know your next move is the next, the next goal is whenever you're planning something, just don't tell anybody. Just work towards that goal so that way when you're there, people are like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So like this is something that like I've really wanted to ask somebody that I find really interesting is that like I understand that every single time that you guys go into an event, you guys are trying to make each other look good so that then not only you can get over but they can get over. But as far as your overall career, if you were to ever get signed to a company, you would be the one that would be signed. So you also have to, in a sense, like look after yourself as far as how am I being presented? How professional am I? How am I able to coordinate with all of these people? How am I able to make sure that all of these companies are happy with my overall performance? How is that as a professional wrestler and kind of gauging, I want to give this, but I also have to take this in the same sense?
I think it just comes down to being a genuine person. Like if you have to trust people to be who they're gonna be, right? Like it's a famous DMX video where he explains that it's too much energy to think that people aren't gonna be something else than who they are. And
Mhm.
so I don't know. I think it just be one of those things to where I'm just gonna no matter who I'm dealing with or what situation I'd have to encounter, I'm just gonna be me. And I'm gonna let the dice roll, and whatever happens, happens. It's kind of hard because I've only experienced a couple of like big event like type things. Um, so yeah, I think just being yourself, I think, is probably my answer. And just be myself, no matter what or who I
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah, is it also weird to kind of like be performing for an event and not ever know exactly who is actually sitting out in the crowd and watching you? Like as if there could be a spectator that is actually a part of a company? Like you never know.
No, you never know. And I could I could literally have John Cena sit in the crowd, and I would literally be so tunnel vision from what I'm doing and literally just listening to the crowd that like I don't I
Yeah,
get such tunnel vision that I don't even think about it. So maybe
yeah.
that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing too.
Yeah, I've always wondered how the energy in the crowd would change for an indie promotion if there was like a Rob Van Dam or John Cena or somebody to like just randomly just pop in, how it would actually change the overall energy of the show.
I mean, look at the modern day Maharaja, popping up at GCW. I mean, that's pretty much kind of the same thing where it's like, hey, somebody big that you didn't expect to show up on an indie show, that probably one of the biggest indie shows on the circuit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you saw the room. Everyone freaked out. So, uh, yeah, it's always a big thing, and especially when it's a surprise like that. So
Yeah. So, like, did you ever think before you actually started professional wrestling that you would actually dive yourself deep enough to where you meet all of these different personalities, the diversity of people that you're actually able to work with and meet? Did you actually expect to actually have that amount of diversity?
no, I mean, I've done stuff for like TV shows. I've done extra work for TV shows, and I've done extra work for like a couple of movies and stuff like that. So I've been around some like some people that I've seen on TV and watched growing up. Um, it's always weird, I guess. I don't know. Like I never thought that I would have shared a tag team match with Robert Stone my first 5 matches into my career. I never thought that I never thought that I'd be as far as I am. When I got into it, it was literally just like, can I hang? Can I do this? I'm athletic. I love wrestling. Watched it my entire life, and no, I didn't think that I would be dealing with the diversity and like I guess the depth of people and like like the level scale of like people that have been on TV and people who have done big things, and I got to share locker rooms with legends like Billy Jack Haynes and stuff like that, and Ricky Morton's popped in a locker room, the very first Crap House. So you never know who's gonna pop in, and it's always weird when you see somebody that you've either watched on TV or have studied or uh, looked up to. So
Yeah. So, like, have you ever like come across somebody throughout your career who maybe had a similar gimmick to what you have, and maybe you guys had to coordinate as like, okay, so like, how can we distinguish ourselves from each other so that we can actually still do our own thing and actually get over?
uh, unfortunately, not. I hate doing something that somebody's already doing, even if I try and tweak something a little bit. If somebody's doing something, that's what they're doing, and I'm gonna find something completely different to do. This is
Mhm.
why I started the anarchistic gimmick, because at the time nobody was doing something like that. Like people were doing anarchy symbols on their gear and stuff, but like they weren't portraying like an anarchistic actual character where they were talking about the cause and effects of certain things that cause us to want to create anarchy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So um and again, I guess with I don't know, the pizza boy, I guess it was just a necessity. So um hmm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I know one thing I wanted to bring up to you is I've been reading on Google, just going throughout like little websites and whatnot, that they're trying to really not push, but they're trying to enter pro wrestling into the Olympics. Do you think that it should actually be a sport in which should be portrayed as something like that? Like, what are your thoughts?
No, pro wrestling should just be enjoyed. It's already a competition enough as it is, in many more ways than trying to create a sport. The Olympics are rigged anyway, so so I guess they wouldn't be far off. But no, pro wrestling's supposed to be that thing that you get to enjoy to escape from reality. Olympics can be kind of politic based, and again, you can enjoy watching somebody passionate and win a gold medal. But with as much turmoil that is going on in the world, it's really hard to not watch the Olympics and remember of all the bad stuff that's going on. And pro wrestling is kind of one of those neutral grounds where you could literally turn on an episode of Raw or SmackDown. You're not going to see anything besides wrestling, and it should just be something that should just be enjoyed. So maybe not the Olympics. So
Yeah, that is so interesting. Well, the other day, Dustin Rhodes actually posted this post on Facebook, and something that I wanted to actually read out to you as a quote. And he had actually said this about jobbers and enhancement talent. And he had this to say, and I quote, "So please stop using the term jobber. It is an extremely disrespectful to everybody who is putting their bodies on the line each week. All of us are enhancement talent. We enhance each other's careers. Show compassion to everybody that steps in this business and works hard enhancing others." End quote. What is your perspective on that?
yeah, I agree. Um, I like Arn Anderson's version. We're carpenters. We're building. It doesn't matter if it's somebody who is in a match 5 minutes that is losing. It doesn't matter if it's somebody who is winning that 5 minute match. You're a carpenter. You're building. You're working. And so you can jobber maybe it's a term that might be used for somebody who might not be as good in the ring, but yeah, I know we're carpenters. We're working out there and we're building stuff. So either enjoy or don't. That's fine. We're happy either way.
Yeah, that is so interesting. So I know I had sent you the discussion list the other day, and there was something that to me like really stood out that I wanted to ask you, and that was dealing with doubt within yourself about professional wrestling in general. Do you ever have those moments throughout your career where maybe you did doubt yourself, but you had to overcome your own feelings and then bam, you actually got it and now I'm no longer doubting myself?
Every single time I'm behind the curtain. And that's no joke because it's again, it's a weird feeling where you're just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing right now? Like, and then you have to remember all the things that got you into here. You have to remember the things that you enjoyed while you were getting to this point. And it's an everyday struggle. Even if I'm not behind the curtain, if I'm lifting weights or if I'm watching tape or if I'm trying out new moves. Um, yeah, it's weird. It's
Yeah. So
weird.
like
It's every single day. It's whatever, it's again, you have to remind yourself of everything that you've gone through and the goals that you want to obtain afterwards. And so every time I think about wrestling and also every time that I'm behind the curtain.
yeah. Yeah. So it's like, is there anything that you would kind of say that people maybe don't understand about the ebbs and flows of professional wrestling and the risks that you guys take that maybe you can explain to people who maybe don't understand professional wrestling? Is there anything that actually really sticks out to you?
I mean, it's not like it's not different than anything else. Wrestling is its own universe, so you have to understand not only the language, but you have to understand again the the premise and kind of what wrestling is about to, I guess, enjoy it. If that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, is it almost like your ability to actually be able to take yourself out of what you're viewing? Almost like what do they call that? Um like suspension of disbelief. There you go. Like
Oh,
kind of
like
like
as in like when we're telling stories and we're trying to get people to guess, was
Yeah.
that planned? Was that not planned? Because everybody in the world knows that wrestling is a little predetermined. It's
Mhm.
not fake. Don't ever use that word. But you know, my response to all of that stuff is you watch Marvel, you watch these movies, you watch these TV shows that are fictional characters, and people get invested, and people throw emotion into stuff that is predetermined. There's a story that's written that's going to be told. So you have to open your mind a little bit, like like you would if you were to read a book or watch your favorite TV show, and you have to understand that there's stories to be told. You just have to open your mind a little bit and understand what wrestling's about. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, how is it, or like, how hard is it as a professional wrestler to not only coordinate with what you want to do in your career or everything that you have to do to build your career, but also have to deal with just personal life? Like, is that very difficult as a professional wrestler?
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, eh, obviously, I'm not somebody like in the NFL or NBA that has to take flights out every week and do all that kind of stuff. But it's wanting to do things like travel and spend time with family and experience life. Sometimes, it's hard to balance wrestling and life. And the last 8 years has been consumed by wrestling bookings, and my life has been surrounded and manipulated around wrestling bookings, and so it gets tough. And I've been through, few relationships, and it's it's not easy, but you find a way sometimes, and you just gotta go one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one thing I wanted to talk to you about was actually like pain management. So, like, at what point is it where, like, maybe you're going to the gym throughout the week? Maybe you have to hit some training. Maybe you're going throughout your personal job where it's like not to exert yourself so that you're prepared for the next event, but yet you still also want to put in enough so that you're actually building. Like, that has to be a struggle.
Staying in shape and staying in ring shape are two different things.
Mhm,
Um, so you can run on a treadmill for all the time in the world, but it's nothing compared to when you are in the ring.
mhm,
And so if you have to, like, for me, I have to like stay ready. Like, so there are certain points to where like I will be not as hard on those days, like before big events. So that way I can have the energy, especially if I'm driving, because it's not smart to drive tired or weary. It's actually worse than drunk driving. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'll keep it lighter, but I'll try and keep it the same intensity, just because, like, if I don't, then it almost is a detriment to me. So
yeah. So, like, do you feel like it's different? Like, so, like, let's say you have a booking like a month in advance. Are those first 3 weeks going to be the times in which you push yourself the most? And then maybe it'll be the last week before the event. You're like, I'll kind of take it a little bit slow so that I'm ready.
but I think it depends on where at and like, how far I got to go.
Hmm.
Um, Not necessarily. I just kind of, again, just try and keep the same routines, same steady pace, I guess. So that way it's just no different than a booking that I have in 2 weeks or 2 months from now. Just gotta stay ready, so that way I gotta get ready. So
That is so interesting. Well, I have two more questions for you. So, like, what do you want to actually accomplish by the time that 2024 ends? Like, what is your goals?
well, before the year's done, I want to I want to be mentally and physically stable enough to be able to travel in 2025. even if that means kind of not taking a back seat, but also not intensifying stuff for the rest of the year. Again, this last few months have kind of been a little rough. So I think the biggest goal for me is to just be ready for 2025, because that's where I really want to accomplish some goals that I have in wrestling. Things that I need to check off the box, and things I want to put on my resume. So that way when, people look me up and they say, who's this guy? Oh, yep. No, he's good. He's done this. He's done that. He's been here. He's wrestled this person. He's legit. So 2024 is, I think, going to be prep for 2025. I'm going to hit the ball rolling, and I'm just going to see where I land next.
That is so awesome. So it's like, is there one specific place that you actually want to get to in 2025? Maybe like a different state, maybe leading out somewhere. Is there any goal?
Yeah, I mean, there's two promotions that I want to wrestle for that have great local talent that are going to probably, be the next big wave that hopefully gets signed. And that's, man, there's a few promotions that I would love to work. So Missouri, there's a couple of spots in St. Louis that I would love to wrestle, and I have family in Moberly, which is close by, so I would love to go visit my family and wrestle. I had an awesome excuse to go see my family. And then I think I wanna go to New York. I wanna. They always say that if you can get over in New York, you can get over anywhere. So I want to go see if I can get over in New York, and if not, then that's something I need to work on, so that way I can get over in New York. And I want to get back to Pittsburgh. Enjoy Wrestling is an awesome place. If you haven't checked them out, they're great. Awesome matches, great vibe, great venue, great stories. Shout out to Ziggy Haim. So that's one spot that I want to go to in 2025. And then I want to go back to Grap House in Vegas. Was at the very first show, and I want back. Hit me up, Sandra. Hit me up, guys. Yeah, this is where I want to be at in 2025. And of course, I want to do some TV stuff, and I want to do some extra work. And biggest goal is I don't know. I don't care what big guy is over at the time, Braun Strowman, whoever. I just want to be tossed out of the ring as hard as they can. That's my goal. Like, quite literally. Like, I just want to be tossed out of the ring, so that way I can just have some fun, to be honest.
Oh man, well that is so awesome. Well, if you could actually stick around for just a few more minutes after we get done with everything, where can people actually find you on social media if you want to let everybody know where they can come and follow you?
All my socials are at Max Burnside PNW, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. I'm not on very much, but it kills the battery on my phone, and I really don't like that. But I will use TikTok. You can go to my YouTube page. There's some old, wrestling videos if you want to see some nostalgic stuff, see some stuff that you maybe want to laugh at and go, "What a dingus." Yeah, and then just keep watching DOA and take sports entertainment for anything that's going to unfold within the next few months with me. So.
That is so awesome. Well, I just want to thank you like a lot for actually sitting down with me and let me go throughout all of these questions and just let me pick apart your mind for a little while. Like every time it is so much fun.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun. It's always just like not even like a question and answer thing. It just feels like, kind of like we're just shooting the shit a little bit. So.
All right, man. Well, I will definitely talk to you here pretty soon, and I hope you have a very, very good night.
All right, man. Later, dudes.
Well, all right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Max Burnside. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503.